Today, for this celebration, we have readings that are chosen to help us get our heads around what is happening today. The first reading that we heard gives us, I think, what is one of the key passages for us to remember whenever we're reading the Old Testament, a passage that captures the point of all that happens in the Old Testament. We have God saying, "You shall be my people, and I will be your God." That's at the heart of what it means for us to be part of the family of God. God will be our God, and we will be his people. All of the problems that happen in the Old Testament are variations on getting this wrong, on wanting to be someone else's people, on wanting to have some other God. This is why there are so many failures and ups and downs throughout the Old Testament. It's ultimately why Jesus comes, because the people have gotten so far removed from understanding that we are his people and he is our God, that they have become hopelessly lost. And so Jesus comes to restore them, telling us also in this passage, "I will give you a new heart. I will place a new spirit in you, taking from your bodies your stony hearts and giving you natural hearts. I will cleanse you from all your impurities." This is a beautiful passage for us to consider as we celebrate confirmation tonight. Because what's happening tonight is that you take this next step in letting the work of Jesus take root in your life. You come here because you are acknowledging your need for God. You come here to say to God, there are impurities in my life, and I lay them before you. And so what we celebrate tonight is that Jesus will do what this passage says. He will reach into you, and he will give you a new heart, his own heart. And so I want you to think about whatever in you right now seems like it would cause a hard heart. What is it that would cause you fear or anxiety? What is it in your heart that reaches for something other than God, that gives in to temptation and sin? All of those things that you see in you that threaten to give you a hardened heart, well, those are there because you're human. Because you're you. The same thing exists for those sponsors sitting behind you and your parents sitting behind them and our priests sitting up here. We struggle because we desire to have hearts that belong to God, but our hearts are easily turned from God. And so we depend entirely on moments where God does the work. If it's left up to us to try to make our hearts better, we will be successful once in a while, but not really long term. But confirmation is about the fact that what God does tonight does not depend so much on you being perfect. It depends on you letting God reach inside of you to take away your hardened heart and to give you a heart that loves more fully. Because we struggle with this, because our own choices and lives can take us away from God, we stand in need of the power of God. But we need reminders of just how loving and merciful Jesus really is. Because one of the consequences of having hardened hearts is that we can think, I don't deserve what Jesus is really doing. I don't deserve to receive the gifts of God. It's very easy for a hardened heart to resist God because of all the wrong reasons. So we have an example in the gospel passage that you just heard of the power of Jesus to reach in and claim a hardened heart. We have the story of a leper. And if you're not aware, in the time of Jesus, to be a leper not only meant that he had to suffer from the disease of leprosy, but that he had to be an outsider in every possible sense. When someone was a leper, they had to literally walk around and ring a bell and declare, "I am unclean," meaning, "Do not come near me." So imagine someone who spends their whole life yelling out to everybody, stay away, I'm unclean, don't come near me." What kind of hardened heart would that cause in us? It was considered something that was dangerous and impure and unclean to even touch someone who was afflicted with leprosy. So it was a lonely and isolated life, one that certainly comes with a hardened heart. But then everything changes for this man because he comes face to face with Jesus. Now, we initially see this story maybe like a lot of other healing miracles. Someone is afflicted in some way, a disease, an illness, an injury, and Jesus gives them their life back. He heals the illness, and that certainly happens. But I want you to notice the detail that when the leper comes up, knowing that he was supposed to tell everybody, stay away, it tells us that Jesus touched him. He touched him. A simple detail, but something that would have instantly begun to soften the hardened heart of this leper. Because he would have seen the compassion of Jesus that says, I don't care what anyone else says about you. I don't care what anyone else thinks about you. I see past the surface and the disease and the isolation, and I see the heart that God placed in you. And so Jesus touches him. And in touching him, he not only heals the leprosy, but he restores him to the community, to his family. He restores him to be part of the people of God. This man could now say with every confidence, you will be my God and I will be your son. The promise of God to take away hardened hearts and replace them with natural hearts. This becomes a reality in the life of this leper. Now, when we learn about stories like this, it's an opportunity for us to consider our own lives. We don't read stories of the healing of lepers to just know that, oh, that happened, that Jesus did that, that was a good thing. But rather, to look into our own lives and to say, well, what is Jesus inviting me to as I hear this story? And so, in confirmation, Jesus reaches through my hands to physically touch you. When you are confirmed, you will be anointed with oil. And I want you to imagine that hand of Jesus. That hand of Jesus that says, I am placing in you a new heart. I am claiming you as my son, as my daughter. Be who you are always made to be. And listen. Listen to that voice of Jesus as he speaks to you this evening. Let go of whatever it is in your life that you think separates you, isolates you, causes you to be set aside, makes you less than someone desired of God. And receive this gift that he gives to you. Let him claim you as his child. Let him give you a heart that he is ready to love fully. And then, as you leave tonight, the gifts that you receive will help you live out your place in God's plan, to live out your identity as his beloved child. And so tonight, when you get back home, before you go to sleep, let these words of Scripture be on your lips. You will be my God, and I will be your child, beloved enough that tonight you have given me your own heart.